Welcome back, everyone, to the Wrestling Informer Show. It's been a while, so we are back to quench your thirst. We know you missed us so much. I'm Cav. I am from the Lingus Mafia podcast. All of my nonsense, TikTok, Lingus Mafia, all the Twitter stuff like that. I am with Mr. Billy Body, the man that everyone loves to hate, but I think they secretly love you, Billy.
Well, I've had loads and loads and loads of messages to do this show. So I decided that let's do this show. Like, obviously, this is a time of year where we do a lot less wrestling content, and that's been consistent year after year because of the other stuff that we're involved in that we'll talk about now. You can explain where we've been. It's not been a case of getting the comments or anything stupid like that because I've still been on Conan's show every week. So I don't care about the comments. Facts are facts. Look at everything that's happening. We saw a story where CM Punk, I reported that CM Punk was, they were trying to buy him out of his deal. Nobody reported it. And then 5 weeks later, it comes out that they're trying to buy him out of his deal. I said the MJF thing was a work and that he had negotiated an increase in his salary and that he would be returning with a babyface push with semi-creative control. And he's come back with semi-creative control and he's getting more money and he's going to be a babyface. I said Bray Wyatt was coming back with creative control. Bray Wyatt has come back with creative control. On top of that, from everything from WrestleMania to SummerSlam to the Rumble winners to just everything that you can see on TV, everything has been broken here. And it's no surprise to me that people are hitting me up going, where's the show? Where's the show? Where's the show? Why? Are you sick of all the wrong that you're getting from everybody else, or hearing my Patreon stuff 5 weeks later from Raj Giri? Like, of course you're going to be asking for the show back. And it doesn't matter whether you like me or not. Facts are facts. The facts are, statistically, this is the most accurate information that you can get. But where have we been, Cav?
We've been doing real sports and doing a gambling service. So we have something over at patreon.com/NFL Six-Pack. And that is where we give gambling tips out. We give 6 picks and we do our regular show where we give a nice teaser for everybody on the Freebirds feed. And then we go over to the Patreon. We give our lock of the week. There's different tiers. We give our lock to the lower tier. And what are we combined, Billy? We've lost 3.
We are 12, 3, and 1.
Yeah, our locks are insane. And then we go over to the other side where we give you a combine of 6 picks, which could be over-unders. It could be the point spread. It could be prop bets. It could be teasers. Anything. You just get a group of 6 picks for that. And that's patreon.com/NFL6, the number 6 pack. So that's what we've been doing with our time every week during football season because, I like football a little bit, Billy. I don't know if you've noticed that, but yeah, I'm into football just a tad. So that's where we've been spending our time. And I got a question for you. Now, you brought up the CM Punk thing. And I see that Triple H did the whole, never say never. I'll always answer the phone, this and that. Do you think there is a realistic possibility that he would entertain going back over there? Does he care that this is how wrestling would have ended for him on that disaster that was AEW? Like, not that it's the whole company but I mean, how that ended was pretty bad. I mean, he's getting in fist fights with people and then getting out of there. I don't think he would badmouth Tony because it really not Tony's fault as much because Tony's just probably over his head with a lot of those things and hiring certain people. But do you think he would come back and go to WWE?
Yeah, I do. It's the first story I want to talk about. So I'm going to read it directly from Patreon.
I didn't even know we had this either.
No, because I haven't sent you any notes today. I'm going to just freestyle this. There's an extensive betting preview for every single WWE pay-per-view now over at the Lock Betting Podcast. That's a free podcast. So when Cav was talking about the NFL Six-Pack, that's something that you need to purchase to get 6 picks a week from me and Cav, 3 each. The lock is on the $15 tier. And as we said, the record for that is 12-3-1. The 6-pack is on the higher tier. All of my betting picks, if you want to get other sports as well, which includes soccer with the World Cup starting in 2 weeks, that's over at lockbetting.com. We just tracked 113 months in a row of transparent track profit. That lockbetting.com is a Patreon page, but the Lockbetting podcast is free. That's where we talk about the NFL every week. You also get a consensus teaser there for free every week. Even that 6-2, like that free consensus teaser is 6-2. So, we're just giving people away money, giving people away like podcasts that will make you money. But we're going to get straight into the news and bring you up to speed, because the reason why it was so important to do this is because there are three major stories, and one which is kind of why I told you so kind of thing. And we'll do that one in a
Can't have a show without that.
Straight from the Patreon page. So a few months ago, a CM Punk return to the WWE was absolutely unthinkable. However, rumors have been circulating as of late that the return was now possible if CM Punk is granted a full release and buyout from AEW, a story that we reported 5 weeks ago on the show. The rumor has gained so much momentum that even Triple H has had to address it in a media interview, stating that there was no one in wrestling he wouldn't answer the phone to, and that the interest has to be there from all sides for a CM Punk return to ever happen. This is what Cav already addressed, without knowing this was a story on the show. So here's the story. One of the main reasons that things have taken such a turn are down to positive conversations that Triple H has had with former WWE superstars that now work in AEW, namely the Revival, FTR. According to our sources, Dax and Cash held talks with Triple H about a potential return to WWE. During those conversations, the CM Punk situation was addressed. Now, with that, I was about to say something, but I'll read the whole thing. Dax and Harwood are claiming that Punk was utterly blameless for the AEW situation, and that he was attempting to be a positive and helpful influence in the locker room that lacks organization, direction, and leaders. The pair also claimed that Punk's good intentions were continually undermined, with his advice frequently ignored and often ridiculed. Punk was also said to be against the needlessly dangerous work styles, the gaming room that the Young Bucks would set up at every TV taping, and the alcohol and drug-fueled parties that Tony Khan would host and allow almost every week. It continues. Given Triple H was personally insulted by Punk when he exited the WWF, in brackets, CM Punk refused to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania 30, Punk's return was one of the few returns that's likelihood would seemingly decrease instead of increase under a Triple H-led regime. However, that appears to be not the case. Triple H has hinted that when Fox had CM Punk, there was a chance to bring Punk in, but nothing materialized due to Punk's unwillingness to do business. That's not true. I'll talk about it in a second. This verifies a previous report by the Dirty Sheets where we confirmed that WWE had an interest in Punk, but the offer was nowhere near as bloated as the one that came in from AEW, which meant WWE having zero interest in matching the offer. It'll be interesting to see if this is a stumbling block once again. So the problem is that there was an amount which they thought that Punk was worth, which was pretty much the same as what Edge was making. Fox offered to supplement that, at which WWE said no. He already causes a lot of unrest in the locker room. People cannot find out that he's coming straight in on more money than Roman Reigns, which is what it would have cost to match what CM Punk was getting from AEW directly without Fox putting any money in. So, for example, if WWE's cap was $2.5 million, Fox would have paid $2.5 million to have him on SmackDown, which would have took him past Roman Reigns' pre-merchandise figure, of which is Roman Reigns gets $4 million, the same as Orton, and that would have caused unrest in a locker room where this person already historically causes unrest. So that's why he didn't come the first time. It wasn't anything to do with AEW being where he wanted to work or hating WWE or whatever. Punk goes where the money goes. and Punk goes where he'll be pushed and somewhat semi-creatively satisfied. But that's the story there. Like, the story is generally that AEW's he was trying to help. He was trying to tell the young guys what to do. Nobody listened to him. The place is a mess. The place is like, there's drug and alcohol parties that go on every week. That's not what Punk's into. And generally, he was trying to be a positive influence. Now, I spoke to Conan, who's been in the AEW locker room, and to add weight to this story, not that I need to because my record is nearly perfect, but to add weight to the story, Conan has verified everything in that story in terms of what the AEW locker room is like. So I don't think we need to doubt this. We just need to basically discuss if it's actually going to happen.
Do you think that Tony would, because obviously he's terrified of people going to the other side. He's always worried about somebody taking off to the WWE. Do you think he would do the, well, I'll just continue to pay and you have to now sit home for however long this contract? What was the contract, like 3 years originally?
No, two with a 1 year extension.
Okay. And how close is he to the end of that? When did this start?
Okay, so it started, obviously we had the year anniversary where he won the belt. So
yeah,
he's got like 10 months left, and he's got 6 more months of injury left. So he's going to be paid anyway, because AEW contracts don't protect you against that, whereas WWE's have like a minimum number of dates you need to work, and then you need to make it up on the other side. If you don't work 120 times in a year, which is the minimum, then WWE don't pay you what that contract says. They pay you less, which is the problem that they had during the pandemic, which resulted in a restructuring of contracts. So, in this situation, it's interesting because when people are talking about a buyout, if CM Punk was to accept a buyout from AEW, that means that he has the intentions of working somewhere else. The buyout, if it was to be negotiated, would essentially mean that they pay Punk less money than they would have to pay him for sitting on the sideline. So if Tony Khan wants to keep him out of the WWE and wants to keep him out of MMA or TNA or wherever the hell he wants to go, none of these places are very likely, but still, if he just wants to stop him from working, he has to pay him the full amount. If Punk accepts a buyout, then the buyout will be for less money, because it means that Punk wants the freedom, so he will take less money. If Punk doesn't want to work anywhere else, then Tony Khan can't give him a buyout because he has to just sit there and be on AEW's books. So the buyout would have to have a reason behind it. That's the thing, because Punk's out anyway for 6 months. He can go and collect that money, and then he can either come back for 4 months or he can sit at home for 4 months, and that just stops him from going to the WWE. The buyout means is that Tony Khan wants to save some money on this contract. The way that they recklessly spend money, I'm not too sure that a buyout would happen under those circumstances. The only way I think that a buyout can happen, and I think what's going on at the moment, is that CM Punk would make the case that they are freezing him out with no intention of bringing him back, and just allowing his monetary value to drop within this time frame, which is, a difficult case to win when you're injured. But it's still, he can make the case that he wants to go and do this, that, and the other. In which case, there would be legal involvement where they would in turn either cancel the contract from where it is, or he'd be paid up until the point where it was decided, or the courts would determine what the buyout should be. He's basically would argue that he's going to be kept there, and that he wants out of this contract and can enforce a buyout. That's something that can happen, in terms of, you can say, hey, I have to. It's happened. It's happened, I believe, in other sports. So it can happen here, where you can say, hey, I'm on the contract and I'm getting paid, but I want to go and leave and do other things. So I just want to be paid up until X, Y, or Z. So it's really complicated, and it will look like it's going to go to lawyers, because Tony Khan doesn't give a about freezing him out.
So with if he gets out of this, 6 months lands right at WrestleMania. So we could get that day after WrestleMania, because nowadays it's more rare if somebody shows up at Mania itself. Why not just save it for the next day? Mania sells itself, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think that anything will get sorted before that point. We could get a Summer of Punk in the WWE, but I don't think we'll get the Cody Rhodes moment replicated where he comes in and beats somebody as a surprise entrant or anything.
Yeah, I'd rather it be the day after. The day after is kind of fizzled in the last few years since the it seems to have been not that.
But I would think with the frequency of him being injured as he was in AEW, I would think that coming straight off an injury and going straight into a ring without a sustainable rehabilitation process and going in and like getting your reps in and everything and getting into ring shape and being physically ready to wrestle, that's way too tight for somebody who's of his age and who's been injured as frequently as he has been in AEW. So yeah, I don't think WrestleMania is going to happen, but WrestleMania 40, gun to my head, I expect CM Punk to be on it. I really do.
I think people would be more excited just give him a microphone to show up on Raw after this catastrophe has happened with him fighting everybody in the back and all that kind of stuff. That would be what would be interesting to hear. What else do you have for some news?
Yeah, so this is something I talked about on K100, but I believe that from what WWE have planned over the next 7 years, 7 years, I think the sale is going to be now or never. I think if they don't sell in the next 5 to 7 years, because everything from what I'm understanding about the way they're going to move forward is moving towards increasing the value of the company and negotiating a sale. We know Vince is gone. We know he was the one who was most stubborn. We know that anybody that takes over this company will probably retain the services of Triple H and Stephanie because the stock price rose. And this was the most important quarter in terms of what happened after Vince. Cav, it went up $18 per share. Vince McMahon increased his net worth by $367 million sitting at home. Vince McMahon is worth $367 million more by leaving the company and letting this quarter take place. We then have a Saudi quarter. We then have the WrestleMania quarter. These things take care of themselves. Also, in addition to that, my understanding is that SmackDown is very, very likely now to be the prettiest girl at the dance for streaming companies who are the front runners to buy it once it moves. Once the deal is up with Fox. Now, I think Fox would be happy to renew at $200 million per year, which was $1 billion over 5 years.
When is that up?
What?
When is that up?
That's up in 2024.
Okay. As soon as MJF goes there.
Yeah, this is the real bidding war of 2024. MJF's not going anywhere. This is the real bidding war of 2024 because this is going to be between the streaming networks and Fox, and then it's just going to be between streaming networks. Amazon Prime, my understanding, are the absolute front runners, absolutely desperate for live content, live sport content, which is what SmackDown qualifies as. This will mean that SmackDown moves off television onto a streaming platform. There was concerns about this when we were doing the show yesterday, but as me and Joe said, you cannot buy television post 2019 without Netflix or Prime already on it. They're on there. So this was one thing that Disco didn't understand because he was saying, like, oh, at my bar, we've still got direct TV and all this. I was like, well, the TV has it. So
he couldn't grasp that the TV has it inside the TV.
Disco's over 50, so like,
you didn't know there's apps on the TV. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think he knows, but like, I don't think he knew that it was on it. It was just so standardized on every television. So, yeah. but we know that it is. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be as big a problem. But for WWE and Vince McMahon particularly was always against going down this route or against putting it even behind their own platform on the network. Never wanted to put any major television show, either Raw or SmackDown. Obviously, NXT is different and others. But even NXT was sold to USA Network because he doesn't believe in the visibility of streaming platforms and not having that that capability to track the data in that much detail in terms of who watches when, what time frames, age demographics, sex, male, female, kids, whatever. So I still think that moving forward, that is possible to track with your subscriber bases on those channels, but the necessity to watch live is actually reduced. But anyway, these streaming platforms do still want this content. They want as much live content as they can possibly buy up. And that means that there's going to be a big bidding war for SmackDown. I know that Amazon Prime is the front runner. I know that Amazon Prime are willing to pay $1.5 billion, which means a $100 million per year increase on SmackDown. To put that into perspective, the AEW TV deal is $175 million for 4 years. WWE are getting a $100 million increase per year. So if AEW up their deal to, let's say, 200 million, so I don't think it's going to be up to much more than that if it's even increased at all, or even if they get one, WWE in just 2 years of SmackDown match that deal in their increases alone. So they're going to get $300 million a year from Amazon Prime, which, as I said, moves away from Vince's business model. I think the USA Network will renew. In addition to that, obviously, I've spoken about this before. When the renewal comes along with Peacock, the plan is when that renewal comes along with Peacock, that WWE, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and WrestleMania won't be a part of the pay-per-views that you get, because the idea is to sell those 3 pay-per-views to DAZN, the boxing pay-per-view channel, and to have all of your other pay-per-views and all of your historical content on Peacock or whoever buys it, with the exception of those 3 pay-per-views. And even if it all ends up on DAZN, there is content on DAZN where you still have to buy separate content. So if it's DAZN, if it's ESPN, if it's Peacock, the idea is to go back to paying for WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam whilst getting all the other pay-per-views for free, which is why we have this premium live event label. But it doesn't necessarily mean that pay-per-view is dead forever, because there is pay-per-view within pay-per-view. I mean, UFC do it. With UFC, you need to be on ESPN to buy the UFC pay-per-view. So you need to be paying one subscription price just to have the option to buy a pay-per-view. So I know it's like minimal money. I think it's like $7.99 a month. I don't live in the US. I don't know what it is, but that's what WWE are looking towards doing. They're looking towards having a subscription model where you get a vast majority of the content, but still trying to reinvigorate the paying of the 3 major pay-per-views. So that may even go on to include the Saudi show. So it's just going to be more and more and more and more and more, to the point where there's going to be a point where they cannot sell anymore and they cannot increase this stock price anymore. I believe that once they reach the target of 90, anywhere between $90 to $95 on this share, using these shares, we're going to try and see them instigate this sale to whoever wants to buy it. And that becomes a lot more clearer when Vince is gone and the stubbornness is gone, but Triple H and Stephanie maintain jobs as long as they want them. I think that is the key. And with me knowing that this deal is coming up and me knowing who the front runner is, I can only see that we're moving in that direction. I can't see a McMahon-owned WWE in 10 years' time. Not with the deals they're planning to do.
So we should all kind of just buy stock in Amazon since we see that this is coming.
Oh man, we should. There's so many times where I've spoken to Nick, who's bought WWE stock before, and we thought that it's reached the peak because Nick's got it at like $33, and he was like, "Oh, when it gets to it's hit 50, it's got to come down. Oh, it's hit 60, it's got to come down." It was only 61. It was only 61 like when Vince left. and now it's like $78. Like it's just shot up since then. And even now you're thinking, oh, right, like 78's the peak. It's not like this stock just continues to go up. There will be a point where it won't, where they've sold every possible thing and it just sits somewhere. But I know through what, wherever I get my info, it's kind of inside info, I guess. Or it's insider trading info.
I was going to say he's going to get arrested for insider trading.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, knowing who the front runners are in a deal, I think it's kind of obvious that at this point the streaming networks are going to come in. They're involved in everything at the moment. So WWE would be no different. They have a live model, and that's my understanding. So this stock price has a little bit more to go, but obviously getting in at $40, $45 or lower, $30, that was the time. I can't remember what was the incident where it had a big drop down to 30. It was like a big drop. I can't remember what it was.
I don't even remember that it had some massive drop. I just always thought it was kind of a low stock.
Yeah, I can't remember. It wasn't. I remember it didn't have a significant. It did not have a significant drop during the pandemic because people were expecting them to be absolutely dead, and then it shot up because they realized that shooting in the Thunderdome was really cheap, and they ended up having more money. They ended up having a wider profit margin during the pandemic. So
they get more money while we suffer with a product. But I mean, have you heard from people that you know inside? Are they happier now with Vince gone? Do they feel like freer? Or no kidding.
No, yeah. Well, some people, but the people who I know, who I'm not going to name,
sure.
but the people that I know are not.
I mean, you know multiple, so go ahead.
Yeah, but they're not particularly happy with some of the things that have been done with them. It's always going to be
because Triple H isn't like high on them particularly. No, is that what it is?
Just because, well, one guy was being moved into a position to do something that's cancelled. Another guy, isn't happy with what he's doing and how he's been positioned. I mean, it's just, it's a case of, look, it's always going to be like this. It's always going to be a business where 50% of the people lose. Like we watch the NFL. Not everyone. It's like saying, oh, everybody gets to finish 13-4, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You're going to have a 4-13 team or a 2-15 team. It's going to happen. Like all the numbers need to add up. If you add up all the wins and all the losses in the NFL, it'll come to the same number. That's just how maths works. It's the same thing. Like if there's 150 wins in the WWE, do you know how many losses there are? 150 losses. Like that's the thing. Like it's always going to be a case of half the people are happy with what they're doing, half the people are not. Every time you watch an episode of Raw, half the people won and half the people lose. That's what, unless you have handicap matches. But that's what happens. Like so, it's this whole narrative that's been put out there where everybody's now happier and whatnot. Are things more organized? Yeah. Do they have more long-term storytelling? Yeah. Do people know where they're going? Like a few months ahead? Yeah, sure. But what they're not necessarily happy about is where they're going or what they're doing or what the long-term plans are for them. When certain guys are like heading into a slow build of a major story and suddenly it stops, I can't get dragged into this conversation because it's going to be too specific.
I can see it.
It's going to get too specific about certain people. But
yeah, I'm putting the puzzle together as you're talking, going, okay, so this guy is this and that because I know you. So
one guy feels that he's much more appreciated as for what he's done in this business and as a legend, and is being booked accordingly. So it's up and down. Like it's totally up and down. Like I honestly can speak to 4 guys that are unhappy and 4 guys that are happy. So and if I actually do the math in my head and start naming those people on my fingers, that's actually accurate with that's exactly accurate.
Huh.
I honestly speak to 4 guys that are happy and 4 guys that are not that happy.
Huh. Well, I'm gonna have to pick your brain a little bit after we're off the air.
I broke a story a few months back that The Rock was really high on Becky and was starting to and got her signed to his agency, William Morris. Now The Rock owns his own agency, which is called $7. $7 is called that because when he got released from Canadian football, he says he had $7 in his pocket, so he called his agency $7. But he got Becky signed to William Morris. He also, off Becky's recommendation, got Bianca Belair signed to William Morris. Do you know who is playing Cyndi Lauper in Young Rock?
No, would it be Becky?
It's Becky.
Really?
The Rock got her the part. So The Rock loves Becky. They've had a relationship since he came on.
How the hell is she playing Cyndi Lauper? You got to have that voice and a little Brooklyn accent to you too. Be interested to see how she pulls this off.
Well, I know who got her the part, and I know who got her signed to William Morris, and I know who's pushing for her to make it in Hollywood and television and whatnot, and that's going to be The Rock. So, yeah, I mean, the $7 and William Morris endeavor work together. One is an agency and one is a production company. So, it's not a case of The Rock wanting them to sign for his agency. He is William Morris represent The Rock. $7 is a production company. The production company work with the agency, and The Rock is advising people to get signed to the agency, and then $7 will cast them. So it's a circle. It's easy. It's very easy to understand if you're involved in the industry, have an understanding of it. But yeah, it's just easier to explain. And as I said, told you so story, because I told you that The Rock got her a job, and The Rock was getting her into movies and television, and got her agent. So yeah, now you see her in Young Rock, and all you have to do is you do the maths from what I told you over here.
That's interesting. I wonder if the higher ups in WWE are a little pissy about it. Hey, if you're trying to take somebody from another job and you get the manager going, hey, well, why are you trying to steal our people away from us? This is our person. We need them. And you're getting them to leave practically, because if she becomes a star over there, she's gone.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And then it piggybacks, doesn't it? Because you got Becky first, and then Becky said, oh, I think Bianca's really great. And Rock's, oh yeah, she is perfect. Yeah, let's get her signed up too. So
it's like wrestling's a stepping stone for all of them. And as much as they say they love it, I mean, Cena grew up on it. We know it wasn't like he was some football player that just trained and tried out. So, he grew up loving it. And as soon as he got, some stuff to go, it's just better for your body. I mean, I used to be one of the guys back in the day. Traitor, you left us. You betrayed us. It's smarter to leave. Your body's going to be a lot healthier. You're going to feel better. You're not going to be taking all those bumps. It can't be that healthy for you. So, and you make a lot more money, and you're not on the road as much. So, I mean, it's a smart move if you can. It sucks for us to enjoy it,
I mean, this is, I can tell you with pretty much 99% confidence that this is Roman's last contract. And in the summer of 2025, he will be 100% committed to Hollywood. And as soon as he loses this belt, the time off and everything to shoot films and shoot these smaller parts and everything will start. 100%.
See, you told me that, where you said, Roman, this last contract or whatever, he's not going to do this anymore. And I'm like, oh man, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, because you try to think of him, if he doesn't have this belt, where's this character and what does he do? I'm sure there's ways to have good creative writing to do something, but the whole thing is that he's, unbeatable, and he's the head, table and all that stuff. So if he loses, can you imagine him doing any program that wasn't for the main event title? Like when Brock is around, the first thing I thought, I go, well, once Brock doesn't have this title, unless he's fighting for it, what the hell is he going to do? And now he's finally doing something which they have no rhyme or reason for it. He just shows up and attacks Lashley, and there's no why is this happening. They just go, let's have an opponent. But yeah, Roman not around anymore. That'll really suck. I mean, that's the major thing. I think all fans that watch WWE are there. Not, I can't say they're for, only, but that is a major thing, that bloodline deal. So, it's the most entertaining, fun thing to watch. So it's going to suck when it ends. It's going to have its run and everything like that. And how we all predict with Sammy and, him and KO are going to, beat the Usos and all that kind of stuff. But as over as Sammy is right now, you almost don't even want to have that breakup happen.
Yeah, but I mean, I have another story here that kind of relates to that. But yeah, I mean, do you think that's inevitable that will happen?
I really do. Part of me was thinking just this last week with that whole Uzi thing where he cracked them all up to death. Like it was Saturday Night Live trying to keep their laughter in, right? Even, Barrett was like, oh, Jay doesn't know whether to cry or laugh. He's so messed up, part of me thinks maybe they try to hold off and go, it works too well. We can't end this yet. But at the same time, you have to do what you have to do to have this happen at Mania. And so it's coming.
So you think they're going down the route of Owens and Sammy against Usos, right?
Yeah, that was my original thought.
All right. So maybe this changes things slightly. Because this is I think is the big story of the week. Okay. And this is the one I wanted to discuss at length on next week's show with Conan and Disco, because there's one thing in here which I don't agree with, but the Rock's people are very concerned about this one particular point, and it was something that Vince McMahon is said to have a better understanding of. Vince McMahon, had a complete understanding of. So it's not a concern in terms of whether Rock's doing WrestleMania 39 or not, because the story here, which I'm going to read directly, it's just easier.
And this is the WrestleMania that everybody told you wouldn't happen, that you've reported on for 100 years.
Yeah. So it says here, The Rock will be a part of WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood and fully plans to be a part of the show. This is largely down to the fact that he wants to be a part of the show because of the XFL. And here it says, with The Rock, with the WWE wanting The Rock to make a handful of appearances from January to April and to put over Roman Reigns on night 2 of the show. Okay, that's what WWE want. Mm-hmm. And that was probably what was agreed with Vince and whatnot before he left. But let's read on. The Rock is said to have had detailed talks with Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and Roman Reigns about how the storyline would play out, which was originally set for WrestleMania 38, before the XFL relaunch was pushed back a year. Brackets. The Rock's main reason to return to WWE is to push the XFL to the WWE social media audience. That's key. So when you're sitting there going, oh, they only get 2 million views a week. No, they don't. Their socials get or they claim their socials are bigger than the people on Earth. They claim they got 12 billion. Honestly, they have 12 billion interactions on social. And this was hugely successful for Bad Bunny. Okay. It is my understanding, that while The Rock has indicated that he's still good for Mania, Triple H has not been able to have any detailed talks about creative. However, it is understood that The Rock conveyed to Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard how important it was for him to be protected more than he was at WrestleMania 29, and how all parties understood that people wouldn't just be seeing Dwayne Johnson losing on a major stage, but they would be seeing The Rock, Luke Hobbs, and Black Adam being beaten. It's funny. You're laughing. That's why I want to talk. Okay. that they would be seeing The Rock, Luke Hobbs, who's the guy from Fast and Furious,
Yeah.
Black Adam being beaten in a hugely promoted fight, which could potentially hurt his future projects and earnings.
Oh my God. So what happens if didn't he get killed in that one movie, the cop movie where he was in it for 2 seconds, and I think him and was it Samuel L. Jackson jumped off the building? What movie that was that with was that Mark Wahlberg and
Yeah. It was I can't remember what it was called. The other
something guys or something. Yeah, there you go.
Guys.
It's perfect for me. I'm the other guy.
Okay, that's a joke. Like I think people we'll discuss it because I have a take.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It's believed that Vince McMahon was sensitive to this and gave The Rock several reassurances that may or may not be held by Triple H, may not be upheld by Triple H. Now, I don't know what that means. Whether nobody knows what that means, like whether that means Rock was going to win or not. I have no idea.
Oh boy.
Triple H is said to be aware of the situation via Bruce Pritchard, and this is a huge reason why Bruce Pritchard is probably still working for the WWE, despite being under the new Triple H regime, because Pritchard and Triple H never really got on. Therefore, this is why we are now seeing a backup plan in place for a Rock and Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso tag match, which would see Jey carrying the load on both TV and in the match, and potentially taking the pinfall as well. Alternatively, we could see Jey turning on The Rock, and The Rock defeated 3-on-1, satisfying his appetite to be protected. Lastly, we could also see The Rock getting the pin in the match, setting up Roman and Rock later down the line, with The Rock holding a 1-0 lead, or 1-0 lead, as you guys say, going
the correct way to say it.
Going into the 1-versus-1 match a year later. As stated, this is still believed to be a backup plan, and WWE are still hopeful that The Rock will do business as intended. However, thus far, Triple H has been unable to nail down his own creative talks and is only receiving secondary information from Roman Reigns and the initial information from Bruce Pritchard. Triple H has even gone as far as to publicly ask The Rock to pick up the phone to talk to him.
Jesus.
That has happened. I've seen that.
Embarrassing.
Go on then. What do you think? I think it's not like a movie part. I think there are some people. Look, we know the hillbillies and we know that some people will think that Roman Reigns really beat The Rock. So,
oh my God.
I know. Oh my God to you, but I can say, look, I don't agree with it.
This is like brain damaged people.
Okay, look, one of the things is that it's not even The Rock necessarily saying it, because this is the crazy thing that I heard. The Rock is expected to release a sequel in the next 2-3 years, where his character goes head to head with Superman.
Yeah,
that's going to be the entire premise on the film.
So the movie's going to be 5 minutes long then, because Superman just kill him real quick.
But there's a feeling that the Rock could be damaged, and the believability of The Rock as Black Adam against Superman could be damaged by a very public and well-publicized loss to Roman Reigns. Look, I'm not. You're laughing at me.
No, I know you're not a dope like this. You're reporting what.
Right.
Yes, I know. I'm not telling you you're a moron.
But what part of it do you? Where is your understanding of this? Like, where are you literally like, I don't get this at all? Like, is that where you're at?
It is stupid, but I understand that he knows there are morons around that will, for some reason. I'd almost be like, if you're that dumb, I don't need you to come.
Okay, what about 8-year-old? What about 8-year-old kid going, "Oh, I don't care about The Rock. I don't want to go and see Black Adam and Superman. I'd rather see Roman Reigns versus Superman. Superman punch and Superman punch."
Well, there is none to go to, so you don't have that choice, kid.
Okay, but do you get what I mean in terms of if there was, if a kid was totally bought into this? Why do you want to go and see the loser in a movie? Does that make any sense?
I mean, I would hope also, if the kid is that disillusioned to where, I get that you could,
He's a kid.
but I get that you could let him believe that the wrestling is real. You cannot let them know that movies are real, because that opens up a world of horrible things. Then everything. I mean, well, I saw Rocket shot and killed or whatever in some other movie. You know, everybody dies in all these other movies. They're still around. So this could be real, but he's playing a part over here. I mean, it's a real big stretch. It's a real big stretch.
Okay, was it a big stretch? Was it a big stretch when CM Punk got kicked out in UFC, and then he had to come back to wrestling? And if he was, then playing a tough guy, was that a stretch?
No, I mean, that's real life, though, and I don't think it caused. I mean, tell me, a certain amount of people said, "I'm not watching this. I'm turning it off because I know this guy got whooped in real life." So, Adam Page, should be able to beat him.
What if in the 80s? What if in the 80s?
Different time for sure.
There was a bar fight, and Sylvester Stallone, who plays Rocky, was knocked out by Bruce Willis. Does that hurt? Does that hurt the next Rocky film?
In the 80s, does it hurt the Rock? I don't think so. I don't think that hurts it. I think if you switch that with The Rock got whooped in a bar by somebody, because that's back in the day where they thought it was real.
Okay,
and
but
you would get that a lot.
Ultimately, my take from this story is I think we get the match, but I think we get super protection in the finish. I think the clean finish of Rock getting choked out by Roman, speared and choked, is dead. That's how
it's got to be a pin, sure. But I mean, does then Rock go back to say, well, when I was pinned by Cena in the past, nobody knows about that. That's impossible.
He does not want that. I get pinned clean like he did with Cena. That was specifically in the story.
That has happened. So does that hurt his characters?
No,
that doesn't seem to.
Because it's 9 years ago and his characters are different. He wasn't Black Adam then. Black Adam's a DC superhero.
This Black Adam's going to be as soon as another movie you notice he had no competition at all for this movie that came out. There was nothing else playing. So as soon as Wakanda is here, it's done. He's not first place anymore. I mean, I don't give the whole thing about, the critics in the movie. I agree with him about, I prefer what the fans say. But it's a superhero movie. There's nothing going on, so people went to it. When I see this Black Adam stuff, I think it's Rock in tights. It's Rock in an outfit. I don't see any difference in super. I don't think he's some Oscar-winning actor or anything like that. I think it's real weird to play into people that would, because there will be, of course, like you're saying, there are that group of people that will go, this guy, and you always got to use a hillbilly accent to do it. This guy lost to Roman Reigns. He can't beat Superman. I ain't going to see that movie. So yes, but like I said, I'd be like, I don't want you to go see my movie if you're that dopey. If you believe everything, you could believe the wrestling is real. Don't believe the movie's real. So how are you believing that I was flying? How did that translate into, shouldn't I have done that in the match then? If that all goes together, I'm a superhero. I should have flown away.
If he's on there talking, XFL, if he's on TV going, XFL's 5 weeks away, XFL's 4 weeks away, XFL 3 weeks away, you lost, you got beat by Roman, I'm not watching the XFL.
They're like, hey, Black Adam owns the XFL. Or is that the guy from Fast and Furious? I don't know which he is. I can't tell.
The bottom line is what I'm taking from it is whether this turns out to be a tag match, I don't think it will do. No. But I think in terms of the Sammy story being very clear, a very clear direction, I feel that could potentially be held off because there's rumors of the SummerSlam is between Nashville and Toronto. If it goes to Toronto, you get Edge's retirement, and you could get Sammy and Kevin winning the belts in Toronto, which that would be big. Both of those things will be big. SummerSlam then wouldn't need so many part-time extras, and there is that with it being held off. But at the same time, if you're doing the Jay thing before the Sammy thing, and Jay is going, and Jay does get kicked out, and he's over with The Rock, then you do have Jay turning on The Rock as you're out to The Rock losing. It's like, hey, I was going to beat Roman, and then my own cousin like turned on me. And then, then you come back and you do the match at SummerSlam. You do Roman Reigns and the Usos versus Black Adam, Superman, and Batman. And then the Rock pins an Uso and goes over. Like, it's easy then. And then you promote the film like that with the three of them winning.
I'm going to show you something and talking about a story here. And I want to know if you know about this. It's a DVD, if I could find this. So with the whole Bray Wyatt thing and that character, do you know anything of where this is going at all?
I don't, because Edge and Bray Wyatt both have creative control over their own stuff. I mean, that was one of the things with him coming in. When I spoke to Bray, when he was literally at the peak of the Fiend with the Universal title, and he hadn't even lost to Goldberg, he already wasn't happy. Like, I spoke to him for like an hour in a gym, like as you know, like you know all the ins and outs of that conversation. So he wasn't even happy then. So now for him to come back, I know that there's full creative control. I know that we are seeing the full layout of his plan and what's in his mind and how he wants to go with this, and putting other people over, and that Uncle Howdy's going to be a person who gets a job out of it, and all the other characters are going to be people that get jobs out of it, including Bo Dallas.
But I mean, he's in the Uncle Howdy mask though, so isn't that what's? Am I nuts?
Is that what you think?
100%. That's him in a mask.
I don't know.
Huh. It's the first time I've heard anybody say otherwise. I'm like, I thought that was like known and obvious, like it's him.
I'm not going to even pretend I know. Like that would put me in the same box as these other Look, like just today, right? Just on this wasn't even one of my things, but just today. Now, bearing in mind, I know one of the people in this story.
Yeah.
And it says here, it appears that WWE had a plan for Randy Orton's return when Vince McMahon was still in charge of WWE. Twitter account WrestleVotes noted to Louis Dangerfield that when Randy Orton went down, the plan for him was to come back immediately, turn on Matt Riddle. It was also said that maybe they don't have anything drawn out for Riddle now because they assume Randy will be back by now. Matt Riddle was turning on Randy Orton to try to twist things up. Matt Riddle was the one that was going heel. Not at first, but as they were formulating the tag team, Matt Riddle convinced Randy Orton, who convinced Vince McMahon, who was sold on the idea that Riddle could do it. So I know that from knowing one of the people in the story. I know that Randy Orton and Roman Reigns was a match. I know that Randy Orton wasn't going to win that match because of Matt Riddle. And that was what was planned for SummerSlam. And right now, we should be seeing Randy Orton and Matt Riddle matches that would be probably coming into an end round about this time, Crown Jewel. But that didn't happen because of his injury. But I know who the heel and babyface was in that because I know one of the people involved. And that's what I mean. Like, that's just bullshit. I mean, obviously, it's fine to talk about it now because obviously it's not going to happen because Randy Orton is nowhere near coming back because his injury is like worse than it was.
What's wrong with him?
He's got a back injury.
As in what, though? Like, because, I mean, he had the match, so it was just something that was, like, you could tolerate and just need time off?
He didn't have the match with Roman.
No, I said he had the match as in he was hurting while, like, that last match that he had. So it was known he was going away afterwards. He didn't get hurt in that match, right?
Yeah, but that match was just to get the belts off them, which they wanted, which he agreed to do without having any kind of... which they brought forward as well. Like they did that on SmackDown, didn't they? Rather than holding off because the surgery was.
He got surgery. I didn't even know it was surgery.
Well, he didn't have surgery at first, but he ended up having surgery after like whatever the first thing was didn't work. I can't remember what the original plan was. It's way back now, but yeah, he's out for a while. So whatever was going on with Riddle isn't happening now. So it's okay to talk about what I knew was initially going to happen, but yeah, Matt Riddle was going to be the heel in that. So this is what I mean in terms of all this that comes out and all this retrospective news where it's like, oh, this was going to happen and this was going to happen and this was going to happen before. It's not provable. There's no proof. Like you can just, I mean, we get access to that from Fightful, and everybody just laughs at it when it comes through. It's like all of this, like it's like paragraphs of paragraphs and paragraphs of indecisive, without ever like
talking in a circle.
Yeah, without commit. Yeah, it's just big go around in circles, and it's just without ever committing yourself to what the actual story is. So,
anyway, here's what I was going to show you though. The whole thing. I don't think anyone knows about this, and I talked about this on the Lingus Mafia podcast when we did the Wrestlingus show. I said, did you realize? Does the name Uncle Howdy? Do you remember it? Do you recognize it? Anything like that? And Fausti had no idea. Have you ever seen this movie? Let me get out of there it is. Strangeland.
No,
Written by Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, right? It's a horror movie. He wrote it. He stars in it. He plays a character named Captain Howdy. And I was like, this is Captain Howdy. And so he's a guy on the internet who lures people to the home, sews their mouths shut. It's very the torturous, it tortures them, doesn't like kill them, but he, does all these kind of horrible things to them. So it's the first thing I was like, did he see this movie and just change the name from Captain Howdy? The guy's name was Capt Howdy on like message boards. That's how he'd do it, but he was Captain Howdy. So, did he see this movie and then take that name to use it? So it's an interesting thing to think because this is such a not well-known movie. Obviously, this is, it was in the theaters, but it's a messed up movie, that's for sure. But that was my little tidbit.
No, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know where it's going. I know that where his pay packet lies on the list of people, and it's right up there for less dates, minimal house shows. And
he's going to Crown Jewel to what? Just to talk in the ring. All that flying for that.
Yeah, but I mean, he gets paid out of it, and
sure.
And the people want to see him over there. So yeah, I mean, it's all a win all round. So yeah, I mean, everybody's got to go to Saudi. I mean, even Jake Paul's going to Saudi. So
yeah, that's interesting. All right, that's it. We're done. We gave you I thought that was a good show, Billy, and it wasn't like we lagged in the beginning, went right to news. Not too many I told you so, but we got to get.
Somebody will have some minute there, like, oh, it starts at 5:04 or something.
Yeah. Skip us plugging patreon.com/NFL sixpack. They could do that. But if you want to go see all my nonsense and check out my stupid stuff, just look for Lingus Mafia Podcast. We do wrestling shows and then we have our exclusive stuff on patreon.com/Lingus Mafia, where you can get your pay-per-views and all our extra shows and nonsense like that. You want to check out Billy Boy at lockbetting.com. That's where he will give you all the sporting tips. I got a good one for you, Billy, that I won't give on the air. But you could put on your pay service because it's gold, baby.
Yeah, about my pay service, 113 months in a row, transparent track profit. You can see the actual spreadsheets every month over at Twitter account at lockbetting.com, so lockbetting.com without the dot. A lot of people are going to want to sign up for the World Cup. The World Cup happened, in the third week of November. Why would you pay the full Patreon at that point in time? You're going to get charged. Like, people are going to want it from like the 20th to the 20th. It doesn't work that way. Like, you have to, you get billed again on the 1st. So just sign up now, get the entire month, get the NFL, which we're having a strong winning season. Like, I killed the NFL last week. If you just want to bet NFL six-pack, but if you want to get the NFL, football, wrestling, UFC, boxing, get the top package on lockbetting.com and get it like way before the World Cup, so you can get like 3 weeks of money before that. I mean, we've already started with 3 straight winning days. We've already made 7 units this month, which is £700, which is $900. So you would have had $900 already for what it costs to sign up. So, yeah, if you're going to sign up for the World Cup and you're like, oh, I'm going to wait for the World Cup, why? Like, just sign up now, and you're already signed up for the World Cup. I'm not saying this. Look, I'll get your money anyway, because, like, my numbers are going to go sky high during the World Cup. I'm doing you a favor by telling you to get it now so that you can get Crown Jewel and Survivor Series and UFC and boxing and soccer cards and NFL's week 9 and 10 and 11 before the World Cup starts. Like, so it's up to you what you do. But now's the time to sign up, lockband.com.
All right, that is it for us. One more thing is check out my TikTok. We have a guy who does our TikTok that Billy thinks is fantastic. That's I couldn't do a TikTok, that's for sure. But the guy we know, old Dijon, he puts my TikTok together. Just look up at Lingus Mafia for TikTok, and it's some wild stuff. All right, he's Billy. I'm Kev. We will see you next time. Take it easy.